Hey guys, and welcome to the first video in the Leviathan series. So seeing as Leviathan's just come out and everyone's all excited and they all seem to be the rage at the moment, we're going to be taking a look at the entire Leviathan box set, and we're going to be working our way through each of those miniatures, and along the way I'm going to be teaching you hints, tips and techniques of what I use to achieve certain looks and overall, how to paint your miniatures. We are going to be going for more of a army style painting in this. Obviously some of the bigger characters and stuff we're going into a little bit more detail, because I know some of you will be wanting to get your minis on that board, and hopefully following these steps you'll be able to get your minis down fast and effective and get them straight onto that battlefield. So if you don't want to miss out on any of these videos, please remember, if you're not already, to hit that subscribe button, because believe me, at the end of this series I've got an absolute mental giveaway to give away. So I am going to be doing at the end of these series giving away this entire fully painted Leviathan box set to one of you lucky winners, whether you want it for display, whether you want to burn it, do what you want with it, use it on the board. It's entirely up to you. It's yours. Do what you want with it. So because we are doing it in more of the army style, you know, these painting schemes to be pretty quick, pretty fast, not too much faffing about with like 10 different layers to build up that armour. I just wanted it to be really quick and really simple. So because we're going for the boys in blue, the Ultramarines, yes, I've done a video on this previously on how to get like the Ultramarines blue, but this way is completely different to that. So if you do want to go and check that one out and see which one fits you, but for this I just went for time and effectiveness. So starting off with a Macragge blue primer. Obviously you can purchase this in the rattle cans. I don't think they do like an air one as a primer, but they were all primed in the Macragge blue, and then literally it's just a one stage step if you want to dry brush this on, or use an airbrush, or even if you can get like a colour similar to this in a rattle can. This is Vallejo Game Air Light Sea Blue, and it's a really nice blue. I've thinned it maybe 2 drops of thinner to paint, just so I can build up those highlights as you can see on the screen. And we're sort of just going for a zenithal down, but what I did with this, I put my 0.15 needle and nozzle in here. And this is literally just so I can make those, those highlights really tight, as I sort of went for a zenithal, but I wanted to pay more attention to certain areas like the shoulder blade, just so I could fetch everything a little bit tighter and highlight each panel as and when I wanted to. Now obviously in this video we are doing the Terminators. In later videos we'll be painting some more in a similar scheme. However, I'll be showing you a couple of different more techniques on how to improve like the shadows and stuff, just because I like to keep a little bit of variation between my units, whether it's the Flamer squad or the Terminators or the veterans and stuff, just to make each one a little bit more interesting and unique. Now the beauty of the Terminators, as well as on the box art, obviously their helmets are white, apart from the captain, which I believe is red. But it's really simple, because these models are push fit. It makes it really easy to pop them on and off. So I've just removed each head from the unit itself. Now it has got the Macragge blue primer on. This is going to work in our advantage a little bit, so it don't matter which white paint you use, but it's going to act as a sort of a shadow. Because I've thinned it a little bit more, I can slowly build it up, and it's sort of going to act as a little bit of a shadow, as you can see just under the cheeks. And I literally just go through, I don't know why I wobbled it then, probably trying to dry it, just go through, and from a downwards point I just do a couple of layers of priming those helmets up, and that's pretty much it for your helmets. Next up is probably the most boring part for myself. It is blacking everything out. So all I've done on the undergarments and sections that I want to be black, I've gone over them with any black will do for that. Now for the metallic parts, I've obviously used Pro Acryl Dark Silver. I wanted to start off with a darker silvery part, and I'm just applying that to all the circular areas, just base coating them out. The Pro Acryl ones are really nice. They act a little bit like air paints, but they've got great coverage. So for me, again, it's all about speed and being able to get these on without thinning it and going too mad with it. But just literally working your way around miniature and just painting everything up that is silver, because later on we're going to highlight these up a little bit later on in the video using a dry brushing technique. Now the last little bit I'm going to add on here before we get into the juicy stuff is decals. Now this bit is totally optional, it's entirely up to you. If you want to know how to put decals on, I just use the traditional method, let them soak in water a little bit, because I'm batch painting I can leave them in there and go on and put them on. And I just use the standard Microsol and Microset to apply those. Give them a little bit of time to dry, and then we're going to apply a varnish. Now the reason I'm going to put a varnish on is because we are going to be putting some enamels on here. We're going to be using thinners and stuff. It also hides like any bits on your transfers, and it just tightens up those colours. It just puts all those colours in, and it's also going to sort of dull down those metallics a little bit, which is what I want, because again we are going to dry brush them over a little bit later on. So now, whilst all your varnishes are drying, it's a good stage here to put your basing material on. You know, it's all about the speed and stuff. Now, what I used to do, I don't even know why I just didn't do this in first place whenever I did my miniatures, is most of my bases that I tend to do, and I will do a video separate on bases themselves, I always used to apply it first, and then prime my miniature, and then paint the, you know, the base itself. But I always went for this, like, you know, Rhinox hide-ish colour base, and then I came across, you know, aka Dark Earth, and I thought it's perfect. That's the colour I always want, so I got that, and this just cuts out an extra phase for myself. And so I've just got a really thin flat brush, and I'm just working my way around the miniature applying this. Obviously I've got a painting handle on here, so if you're going to come to the later stages, it takes about 20-30 minutes to get to a stage where it's sort of dry to touch. So I'd recommend getting some sort of like handle, or at least letting it dry before you pick up your miniature, because you don't want to be moving your hands around miniature and getting this all over it. I don't mind if it goes on feet, you know, because we do go for that Grimdark look. So if you want to put this a little bit up the legs and stuff, it's entirely up to you. But again, this is all about speed and efficiency with maximum effect. So you just work your way around miniatures and put this on while your varnish is drying. Now guys, please forgive me for the stage that I've done. For some reason I must have not hit record on the camera. I don't know why, but it's literally our pin washing phase. It's just a phase that I did. I didn't want to go for like the, you know, like the traditional grim darkness. In this little bit here I'm actually taking it off with some mineral spirits where it's spilled over just a little bit. But essentially all I've used is MIG black wash. Now this is one I've recently picked up when I got the Leviathan box set, because I didn't even know they did a black, and it is black, which in my eyes is just like a dream when it comes to painting miniatures. You can see it right leg here and stuff, you know how good it actually is. But rather than splashing enamel all over it and then wiping it off with your streaks and stuff, I sort of wanted to keep these a little bit clean looking with a slight bit of Grimdark. But essentially, because we've put that, you know, that satin varnish on, we can actually go on there now with the black wash thinned with some mineral spirits, and just with a really small brush just tap it into the edges. So I do apologise for that, but you'll probably see it in some future videos. And then any little bits like up here where it's sort of stained onto the armour a little bit, I've just gone on and added some mineral spirits just to remove that, and I've done that on the helmet and everywhere on the miniature. But yeah, the black stuff is great. If you can get hold of that, I don't know if they're discontinued or what, but if you're still going to some of your local hobby stores, you might be able to get hold of it. If you can, I'd recommend using something like, you know, AK dark brown wash or something like that. It's pretty much similar, or one that I used in a previous video, which is fuel stains. It's very, very close to this black. It's just got a slight tinge of brown to it. From a distance, you're never going to really notice it. And now we're heading to the battle damage phase. So I've just got one of these clips. It's like a crocodile clip with a little bit of sponge attached to it. Now I was torn between Calgar Blue and Fenrisian Grey, but eventually I did settle upon Fenrisian Grey, just a bit more contrasty and punch. But we're going to be working backwards here with the chips, and there's a very specific reason for that. Is because I wanted some chips where, you know, it's gone down to like the brown, whereas normally you'd start with like a brown and then highlight the edges of those chips and add little scratches and stuff a little bit later. But for this, I wanted to sort of work backwards. So I start by dabbing on in very light areas, just dabbing on and creating some of those chips. And the reason for that is because it saves going back in with a brush later and adding scratches and more little dinks with that colour on top of your brown. So I'm starting off with this, and then what we're going to do is get our Rhinox hide and work our way. So some of like the bigger chips that go onto here, we're just going to add a little bit of brown into that as well, which then with the Fenrisian grey underneath, it'll create like a natural highlight, edge highlight where the chips would actually be, and it's just a quicker way of doing it. But we can add later on when we come to some edge highlighting, we can add some more little scratches and stuff to that. But yeah, for this one I just decided to do it this way because it leaves some of the other dinks and scratches on without going in individually painting them. Now edge highlighting again is done with the Fenrisian grey, and I don't edge highlight everything. I just sort of catch the areas that would naturally, you know, sort of catch the light. And if you notice, I'm not doing them in like a simple straight line. I'm actually breaking them up and doing these lines you know, like a little bit broken up and a little bit like dotty and stuff like that, just to add a little bit more to that battle damage, and rather than make it one clean break line. For the helmet as well, I just got Vallejo white, and again I'm just edge highlighting parts of that helmet. And once you've done that, we're ready to move on to the next stage. Now for the highlight of the metals, you can either use Model Air Silver or Runfang Steel. Any of these is fine. I do go in with a brush on some of these sections and do it with a brush. However, for places like the guns and stuff like that, I'd recommend dry brushing them on. And again, I do apologise for one of the final stages, which was the eyes. Because they've already base coated white, I got the Blood Angels red contrast paint, thinned it down quite heavily, and just let it run into the recesses, and it sort of stains the lens a little bit red. And because you've got that white underneath, it's like an automatic highlight. So that's how I do the eyes. It's a one stage thing, and it's really easy to do. Basing, I'll keep this short because I will do a separate video on these, on, you know, all different types of bases. But essentially for mine, if you want to go for the brown scheme, I did a dry brush over the entire thing with Steel Legion Drab, followed up by Baylor Brown. And then finally, it's just adding little bits of textures and whatever you want, your grasses and stuff. Here I've got some pigment powders, which I'm dabbing on and dusting up and brushing it onto legs. This stage is entirely up to you, depending on the scheme that you want to go for your basing. And that's it, guys. That's it. That's pretty much the scheme that I used to paint up the Terminators. The black on the gun was just using Black Templar contrast paint, and I just let that go on there. I didn't really pay too much attention. If you want to add a bit of battle damage to that, get your dark silver and just add some little scratches and dings on that as well, just to spice it up a little bit. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, don't forget what I said, we've got a massive giveaway coming at the end of this series, so if you don't want to miss out on any of those, please remember to hit that subscribe button and help me out massively. If you've enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends, hit that like button, and do all the usual YouTube stuff. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in my next video.